Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and today we're going to be comparing two modern versions of some vintage classic figures. Now, if you grew up in the sort of 60s, 70s and 80s, the two staples that you would see here in the UK are Sindy and Action Man, and in this last year both of them have been re-released, and I thought it would be fun to sort of compare how these two re-releases sort of stack up against each other, because they're roughly the same price. You can buy this Sindy for £20 and this new version of Action Man is £26.50. But how do they compare? Is one better than the others? They're made by different companies. Sindy is made by a company called Kids Creations. Action Man is made by a company called Art and Science. I just thought it would be fun to compare these figures and see how well they sort of stack up against each other. So let's take a closer look. First up, we'll take a look at the boxes for these. Now, if you've seen my recent review of the Action Man, you know I'm not a particular fan of this box. It's really quite boring. There's not a lot going on. Obviously, you can see the figure in the front and it says the movable Action Man, 30 points of articulation, but the rest of the box is pretty dull. There's a little bit of sort of information showing some other versions of Action Man that you can get, but I think those illustrations are really quite boring. There's the same on the other side, and then on the back is a little bit of information about Action Man himself and also what is in the packet, but it just is a very dull looking box. If we compare that with Sindy's one, which is just sort of covered in exciting things, there's pictures of what you can do with the box, because on this one the box actually turns into something. With Action Man, it's just a box. With the Sindy one, this turns into a whole playset. So they've actually thought about what they're going to do with this figure. It comes with lots of accessories. The box becomes a playset. That is the sort of thing I would expect with modern toys. Someone in the design department has thought, well, we've got to make a cardboard box. Let's do something with it. If we turn it around, you can see there's a little bit of detail on the back showing you some of the other figures. The reason there isn't that much detail is because, as I say, this box does something. So I just think straight away that's a clever use of packaging. So let's open these both up. We can see what this actually turns into, and then we can take a look at the figures. And there you go, that's both of the figures unpacked. And at this point you can see the glaring difference between how these toys have been thought out. On the right we have Action Man, who is essentially Action Man in a box. There's nothing you can do with the box, which is why I put it to one side. With Sindy, the whole box turns into a playset. In the back of the box there is a couple of sheets of cardboard which turn into various items. They take a little bit of cutting, as you've seen, and a little bit of gluing, but I've made a little cashier's desk. There's a cake stand, there's a couple of plates, there's a little sign to show you that the bakery is open or closed, and then there is also a box to take some sweet treats home with you. You just get an awful lot with her. Not only is there all of this stuff to make the diorama, there's this tiny little book as well which has a sort of design your own cake section, so you can sort of design cakes and colour them in. There's some games and some puzzles, and then there's also a little bit at the back showing you a catalogue of all the figures that are available in the set. there's just so much that comes with the Sindy doll compared to Action Man, who essentially comes with nothing. So let's take a closer look at the accessories that come with both of these figures. So we'll start with Sindy, as she comes with by far the most stuff. You get a little apron here that goes with her outfit. It matches the design of the outfit, which I'll show you later on, and you can see it's got a little bit of Velcro on the back. That's a nice little addition. You also get a selection of sweets, so there's a few little muffins here, there's a pot of ice cream with a spoon in it, there's a tiny donut, a little sundae, and I'm going to say it's some sort of cocktail drink, but it may not be a cocktail because obviously this is Sindy, but yeah, it's a little drink with a strawberry on the side of it. For Action Man, I'm going to be a little bit generous and say that the hat is an accessory. This is his beret. It's really quite plain. The original Action Man, the sort of vintage ones, had a little badge on the front of it. This is very plain, doesn't have anything much on it. Is it an accessory or is it part of its outfit? I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to say it's an accessory just to make this layout look a little bit more interesting. And he does come with some dog tags. Now, on the box, these are described as life-size dog tags, and I think by life-size they mean Action Man-sized dog tags, because there's no way that a human could wear these. And on them, it's printed quite tiny. I'll just see if I can show you that. It does actually say Action Man. So that's the only accessory that Action Man comes with. He doesn't come with any weapons or anything else. The box actually says that he should come with a belt, but he doesn't even come with a belt. That's not included in the box. So there's a little bit of a lie going on there. So for the accessories with these figures, Sindy wins again. Now we come on to the figures, and I have to say with both of them, I think they've done a very good job of recreating the sort of the vintage look of these toys. Sindy especially, I think her face looks incredibly like the Sindys of old. The Action Man head is not a bad sort of modern interpretation of Action Man. You can see he's still got the distinctive scars on his face, and that looks quite nice, but they sort of let it down by not bothering to flock the hair. Most Action Men collectors remember having the flocked hair. It was only very early figures that had this sort of painted hair, and they've not even gone to the effort of doing that. So I think it's a little bit sort of lazy on the part of the toy creators not to have sort of taken that on and done a bit of flocking. It's not that hard to do, and other toys still do it today, so that does let them down. But I think overall he does actually look like Action Man, so they've got some sort of points there that he does still look like Action Man. They're both pretty articulated figures as well. You can move them about a lot. The Sindy they have really updated, so she's very poseable indeed. You can still rotate her head only a little bit. That's the sort of the weakest part of her, that you can only just sort of rotate her head around. You can't really pose it, but her arms are incredibly poseable. You can move them all around. She's got lots of joints in the elbows and shoulder. Her hands don't hold anything much, but then the original version of Cindy didn't hold much. She's also got very poseable legs as well, so you can really pose her about. And again, she's got movable ankles there, so she is a figure that can really be posed very well. And with this figure, they've actually gone to the effort of sort of designing the figure from scratch, so the body is specifically designed for Sindy. This is not an off-the-shelf body. If I pull up her skirt here, you can see it even says Sindy there on the top of her pants. So they have gone to the effort of actually making a figure from scratch to match, you know, or to closely match how the original figure looked. With Action Man, on the other hand, I'm going to say they've been a bit lazy again, because the body is just an off-the-shelf body. It's actually a body from a toy line called World Peacekeepers. So they've essentially just taken that and stuck an Action Man head on it, which means I'm not going to take his clothes off. If you want to see a clothless Action Man, then check out my full review of this figure. But if you take his clothes off, he has a really ugly body underneath, a sort of muscle-bound body. It is very poseable, as I say. It's got lots of articulation, but because it's a body from another figure, it doesn't really have that sort of Action Man aesthetic to it. You can see he's got very strange elbows. His knees are much the same. So again, it's a sort of bit of a lazy toy making there. They've done the least they can to get this figure on the shelf, whereas I think with the Sindy doll, they've essentially designed her from the bottom up and rebuilt a modern version of Sindy that has all of the same sort of qualities that the vintage Sindy had, but with a little bit more articulation. Outfit wise, you can see Action Man does have an outfit that looks pretty much like an original outfit, and the Sindy outfit I think is really nice as well. There's lots of details going on. So as far as the costumes go, they've done a nice job on both of them, but I just think the Sindy figure overall is a far better figure. So in conclusion, who has won this contest? Well, I have to say it's hands down Sindy. I think Kid Creations have taken all of the elements that made the original vintage Sindy great and turned them into a modern version of Sindy. They've taken the style of her, they've designed an excellent piece of packaging to go with the figure, and essentially given you a modern version of a vintage figure with loads of things to do. Whereas with the Action Man, I think it is just Action Man in name only. Art and Science have bought the license to Action Man and thought, well, what can we do? What's the cheapest way we can make a figure? And that's the route they've gone down. They've made a head and put it on a stock body and done as little as they possibly can. The packaging isn't very interesting. The figure isn't very interesting. So as far as the sort of the competition goes between the two figures, the best value and the best figure is clearly Sindy at £20 for a figure like this with all of these accessories. It is incredibly good value. At £26.50, the Action Man isn't great value. You don't get a lot to do, and it's really quite disappointing. Every single one of the Sindy figures comes with a different bit of packaging, and it opens up into a different diorama. They've just put so much effort into it. I really wish that toy companies would do this for all their toys, especially on something like Action Man. It's such an iconic figure, and Art and Science have done the least they possibly can to get a figure in the store. It's such a disappointment. So in the battle between which modern retro figure is best between Sindy and Action Man, Sindy is the winner, and she's the one that I would recommend you go out and buy. Don't bother with Action Man, even though I play with Action Man. Sindy is a far better purchase. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And made a new version of that. They put lots of thought and effort into making this doll and making the packaging and essentially giving you...